Hello and welcome to today's Word in Time. Today we'll be thinking about the word help. I wonder what things come to your mind when you hear this word. I'm going to help us think about it from three different aspects of the word. First, we're going to think a little bit about self-help. The world is full of self-help books, videos and courses, etc. We're always being encouraged to find new ways to help ourselves, whether that's to get a better job, to be a better partner, or indeed to learn a new skill. But this kind of help could only get us so far. At some point we need the help of others. Throughout the pandemic we have seen families, neighbours, communities all offering to help one another in wonderful ways. Maybe you have received this help, or maybe you have been one who has offered this help to others. I think about Penelope Pitstop in The Wacky Racers. At some point in the race, she would always need to shout, "Help!" and her fellow competitors would come to her aid. Now, I don't want to enter into a discussion about sexism or gender stereotypes here. Just to recognise that in order to help the others the others put Penelope's needs before their own. In that moment, they stopped being competitors and instead gave their time to help her. I've pointed to ways in which people have responded during the pandemic, when the cry for help has been loud and clear. But we must remember that even as restrictions begin to ease, many of us can return to that normal race of life, shall we say. The lonely will still be lonely. The homeless will still be homeless. The struggling to put food on the table will still be struggling to put food on the table. And those who live in fear and anxiety will still be afraid and anxious. That list goes on. And just because that cry for help is no longer loud and clear, we still need to make time to lay aside our own needs, to respond and to listen and act. I wonder if we can also make sure that we find the courage to ask for help when it's needed. Like Charlie Mackay's drawing of the boy and the horse, the boy asks the horse, "What is the bravest thing that you have ever done?" And the horse replies, "Ask for help." As a Christian, I believe that helping others is part of the way that I live out my faith. Jesus told his disciples to love one another, for by this others will know that you are my disciples. We hear of a poem written by Teresa of Avila, who says, "Christ has no hands but mine, no feet but mine." You see, helping others is part of my Christian calling. But sometimes we need help that goes beyond self-help and is more than any help that a person can give. Sometimes when things seem utterly helpless, the only place that we can truly find help is from God. Now, I want to be clear. I believe that God is with us in all things. I believe that God helps us at all times. He gave us a brain and our intellect. God enabled us to learn and grow in our understanding. God, as I've said, is at work in and through other people, able to bring help in so many different ways where it's needed. So I'm not suggesting that God should only be involved in the times of major crisis in our lives. But it is often in those moments when help seems so impossible. It's in those times that we realise that only God can help. In Psalm 121, we read these words, "I lift my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord. Now you can read the rest of that wonderful psalm for yourself if you like. But over the years of my life and my faith, I have come to know and trust that my help does indeed come from God. God who neither slumbers nor sleeps. God who cares for me and is with me in all things. So as I come to an end, I'd like to read you a poem called Footprints. One night I dreamed a dream, as I was walking along the beach with my Lord. Across the dark sky flashed scenes from my life. For each scene, I noticed 2 sets of footprints in the sand, one belonging to me and one to my Lord. After the last scene of my life had flashed before me, I looked back at the footprints in the sand. I noticed that at many times along the path of my life, especially at the very lowest and saddest times, there was only one set of footprints. This really troubled me, so I asked the Lord about it. Lord, you said that once I decided to follow you, you'd walk with me all the way. But I noticed that during the saddest and most troublesome times in my life, there was only one set of footprints. I don't understand why, when I needed you most, you would leave me. He whispered, "My precious child, I love you and I will never leave you. When you saw only one set of footprints, it was then that I carried you." And so I leave us with a challenge to help yourself grow and learn new things, to listen and respond to the cry for help around you, no matter how silent it may be, to have courage to ask for help yourself when you need it, and to remember that even when all things feel helpless and hopeless, we can lift our eyes to God, for He is our help and our strength.